All right, your joke. What do you call a cat who likes to eat beans? Puss in Toots. It's funny. Um, all right, so we're on chapter 22. We are just being introduced to the last lifeboat and what is happening with them. I spy nothing. Dawn came. Father Roy O'Sullivan was still terribly sick, but he rallied enough to lead the boys in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The Lascars also prayed first thing in the morning, and would pray 4 other times during the day. They washed themselves with seawater as best they could before chanting the prayer. Just like Father Rory, they were praising God. With prayers and hope and good planning, the passengers of Lifeboat 12 had a chance to survive. Mary Cornish looked at the 6 boys and knew she had the most important task of her life, to keep these children alive. A big problem would be boredom. Bill, Derek, Ken, Fred, Paul, and Howard were used to running around. On the ship, they'd followed the crew everywhere, watching them work, asking them questions, and had stood at the rails waving to the other ships in the convoy. And back home, before they left, they'd had the run of their neighborhoods, as all British kids did back then, playing freely in their yards or even the streets. On days without school, children would be out all day with an apple and some cookies in their pockets, running about, riding bicycles if they had them, even on major roads. They'd bring a cricket bat and a ball and play wherever they could, against stumps or stoops, using coats as wickets. They'd play running and chasing games like tag, touch, poison, crust, and crumbs, blind man's buff, and leapfrog. They'd play with marbles and climb trees. When the war came to England, the buildings leveled by bombs became ruins to explore. Children would climb onto piles of rubble and look for treasure, pieces of toys, broken clocks, furniture, dishes, and shrapnel. Sometimes even a piece of a German airplane. And they'd watch the planes. Many of these boys had front row seats to the dogfights in the sky. They'd gotten to know not just the looks, but also the sounds of the different British planes versus the German planes. They could identify a Spitfire, a Hurricane, a German Dornier, a Messerschmitt, a Heinkel. On rainy days, of course, children would have books and toys and games to occupy them. They'd build with their metal Meccano sets, play cards and board games, checkers. They'd listen to the radio to war reports on the BBC Home Service. And on Saturdays, no matter the weather, there was the tuppenny rush for a movie in the newsreels. On Lifeboat 12, there was no radio, no cards or board games, no books to read or films to watch. Worst of all, there was nowhere to go. They could barely move. The boat was so cramped. Some of the boys were still seasick, the boat rocking on the high waves up and down, their stomachs churning. Mary Cornish tried to think how to keep them diverted from their fear, their boredom, their seasickness, their cold, and for Bill Short and Derek Capel from their worries about their little brothers. First they sang. There he was, a music teacher after all. They sang, "There'll Always Be in England," just as they had when the city of Benares set sail, and "Roll Out the Barrel," and "Run, Rabbit, Run," as well as the popular parody version of that tune. Run, rabbit, run, 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 run. Run, rabbit, run, run, run. Bang, 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 bang goes the farmer's gun. Run, rabbit, run, run, run. Run, rabbit, run, run. Don't give the farmer his fun, fun, fun. He'll get by without his rabbit pie. So run, rabbit, run, run. Run, Adolph, run. Now that the fun has begun. And there still was, of course, a lot of talk about what had happened. They hashed it out over and over again. They had been torpedoed. It was only a torpedo. They talked about where they had been in bed. They'd had a bath. They were in their pajamas for the first time when the torpedo hit. They were asleep. What they heard, loud noise, alarm bells, ringing like the dickens. What happened? Top bunk fell on top of Fred. He got soaking wet. Lights flickering, confusion. Ken got his coat, the smell of cordite. How they got to the lifeboat, breaking through walls, fighting Father Roy fighting them, confusion.
I don't have an answer for that. Is there something else I could...
Where was this friend and that one? And the brothers, the little brothers. And there was this question over and over. Would you rather be torpedoed at sea or bombed at home? The bombs at home were scary. They destroyed houses and schools and churches, and they killed people. They all knew that Fred had had a couple of close calls, so many air raids. He had survived not only the air raids, but also his landlady, Mrs. Stellard, sitting on top of him. Whenever the air raid siren sounded, she would throw Fred under the stairs and sit on him to protect him. One night, Fred and his parents and the landlady heard a loud banging on the door. It was Mr. Wilding, the air raid warden. "Quick," he said, "you have to get out. There's a bomb right next door." A bomb had landed on the roof, skidded across it, and gone inside the neighbor's house. Must have been through a window, down the front stairs, and had landed at the front door. It was ticking. Fred and his family ran out of their house and away from the neighbors. But the bomb didn't go off. Fred was safe. And now he was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, bombed at home or torpedoed at sea. He chose torpedoed at sea. All the boys did. This was an adventure, so far. But after all, the talk, the rehashing, the would-you-rathers, boredom set in quickly. Their one built-in diversion was when they had to go to the bathroom. There was no bathroom. There was just buckets to go in, or do the other, when necessary. So when they had to go, they asked for the bucket and tried their best to do their business in it. The contents were then dumped into the sea. When it was Mary's turn, everybody looked the other way. After a few days, there would be little need for the bucket. They would be eating so little and drinking even less that their bodies would not have much of anything to get rid of. Anyway, the bucket was already not enough entertainment. Mary tried playing games, animal, vegetable, mineral. One of the boys would say, "I'm thinking of," and the others would ask questions to discover what he had in mind. It worked for a while, and then they got tired of it. They played I Spy. What did they spy? Each other? The other people on the boat? Parts of the boat? Sail, mast, tiller, handles? A jug of drinking water? Tins of bully beef, which is canned corned beef. At sea, there was the sea, waves, clouds, spray, a very few seabirds. The bathroom bucket? But there was not much to spy that nobody else could. It was too easy to guess. There was a surplus of what they could not spy. Other lifeboats from the Benares, lifeboats from any other ship, fishing boats, cruise ships, oilers, destroyers, sailboats, yachts, rescuers, land, mom, dad, little brothers. All the people who weren't in Lifeboat 12. There was so little to see and so much to long for. I Spy. It turned out was no fun at all. Mary had to think of something, so she began telling a story. She made Bulldog Drummond the hero, created by author Cyril McNeill in 1920. Bulldog Drummond was the protagonist in a popular series of novels and movies. Mary started with what she remembered and made up the rest. Captain Hyde Drummond was a handsome bloke, over 6 feet tall with a square jaw and a crooked nose, injured in the boxing ring when he was a teenager. He had a lot of money and too much time on his hands. Drummond was home from the First World War, and he was bored. He put an advertisement in the paper. Demobilized officer finding peace incredibly tedious, would welcome diversion. Legitimate if possible, but crime if of a comparatively humorous description. No objection. Excitement essential. Captain Drummond got mixed up in solving crimes in a rather bumbling sort of way. Usually with his life very much in danger, he had a nemesis and a fiancé. Hugh Drummond was stubborn and determined, and he would get a certain look on his face, which earned him the nickname Bulldog. Bulldog never underestimated his opponent, neither in the boxing ring nor in the war, and he declared he had no intention of doing so when he was fighting bad guys. He was a perfect scrappy hero for children, far away from home, in a lifeboat, in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of a war. Mary had Bulldog Drummond get deeply embroiled with a gang of Nazi spies. He fought them in planes, submarines, parachutes. He used secret radio installations, masterminds, and codes. The Nazis fought back. He got in serious danger. When Mary couldn't think of a way out for her hero, she stopped. "No," the boys cried, "don't stop." "That's it for now," Mary told him. "Go on, Nancy, please go on," they pleaded. She promised the boys more soon. This gave them something to look forward to, something to wait for, and it gave her time to make up more of the stories she hoped. In the next few hours, she remembered bits from the 39 Steps, a novel written in 1950 and made it into a movie by Alfred Hitchcock in 1935, just 5 years earlier. The 39 Steps also had a hero, an upper-crust Englishman, Richard Hannay, who got entangled with spies and murderers. Mary used what she remembered from Hannay's exploits, too, and so began a routine. Prayers in the morning, led by Father Rory, stories for Mary. She'd give them an installment after the midday meal, and then another one before they settled down for the night after some sweetened condensed milk. Would Mary have enough in her to keep telling the stories as long as they were at sea? That was a mystery she had no answers to. She had no idea how long it would be before they were rescued, or not rescued. She was determined to keep those boys alive by telling them such a suspenseful story they couldn't wait to hear more. Mary Cornish was a hero in her own story, and like any good hero, she had obstacles to overcome. The open sea, the threat of more storms, the cold and wind, the lack of water. Like any hero, she had adversaries.